The Celtics are down, but their dominant win in Game 3 just changed everything. Everyone thought the Celtics would make adjustments in Game 3, but here's the kicker. They did absolutely nothing. They still shot 40 plus threes. They still attacked the rim whenever they needed to. Their points in the paint are still very low. The only difference from Games 1 and 2 and Game 3 is 1, they executed, and 2, they didn't blow a lead.
You forgot one thing. They were not just down 2-0. They were down 2-0 at home.
Yeah, that's also a big
Right?
factor, yeah.
So it's not like, oh, it's the home team won the game, in this case, the Knicks. The Knicks took the 2 on the road, which is why they were in the driver's seat, right? And the Celtics needed to have an answer this game. And listen, it should very easily be Celtics up 3-0.
I would 100% agree.
Realistically, it should be...
No, like, it's not easily. It is. It should have
been, right?
It really should have been.
Listen, the NBA playoffs the last couple of years have been not great. This year's NBA playoffs have been relatively amazing, in my opinion, overall, with the storylines here. And this is no different, in my opinion, because, listen, you're the one who predicted the Knicks to lose this in 5. Obviously, they kind of made you look kind of stupid to start.
Well, not really, because the Celtics kind of are making me look stupid.
So,
the Knicks are not.
Someone made you look stupid.
And it's the Boston Celtics, because, like you just said, they should be up 3-0. And here's the reason why. They blew 2 double-digit leads in the fourth quarter in Games 1 and 2. And when you're looking at their averages in the first 3 quarters, they averaged around 25 a quarter. In the fourth quarter of those games, they only got 16. They allowed 30 for the Knicks. We said this in the series preview and our series predictions, that if the Knicks just hang in there, they'll let the clutch player of the year, which is Jalen Brunson, take over. And this game, and in those 2 games, he got help from OG Anunoby. And in Game 2, he got help from Mikal Bridges. And it also helps from Mikal Bridges' 2 great stops. And Josh Howard in Game 2 had an amazing game as well. So when you're looking at it, all the issues we had from the Celtics run last year kind of bit them in the ass in Games 1 and 2 this season.
Yeah, like, listen, we said when healthy, the Knicks can make some sort of noise. We still had them the 3rd best team, I think, behind the Cavs and the Celtics themselves, which is why we both predicted the Celtics to win the series. Obviously, you said it in 5. I said it in 6. At the end of the day, we know what the Celtics' identity is. It's kind of like live by the 3, die by the 3, and then obviously their defense to a certain degree. And that's what it was. First game, 60 threes. Second game, 40. This game was also 40, but the difference was the first game, they only hit 15 out of those 60. Second, they dropped the threes, good, but they still only hit like 10 of them, making it, I think, 25% then at that point. This one, they were 20 for 40. And one of the guys that took the charge in this game was Peyton Pritchard. Off the bench, he was amazing for them. Al Horford was really good defensively for them once again. Yes, the one thing you could say is that Porzingis' health is kind of letting this team down slightly. I'm not saying he is he's going to be an impact, but last year they won a championship with him missing some time as well, right? In the finals, for example, I think he missed 2 games before he came back for Game 5 to close it out. But overall, this Celtics team, we know what it is. At the end of the day, they're living by the 3 and dying by the 3. And that's what... I don't like that brand of basketball, which is why people say, which is why we always get these arguments about from the old heads or even like family members and friends. We know like this is not really basketball of the 3. There's just 3 threes, right? Like I get it to a point. I do agree that I want to see a mix and match of things, but like at the end of the day, if the 3s are going in, it's gonna be what happened in Game 3 for the Celtics. If they're not going in, it's going to be Game 1 and 2, but the sad thing was Game 1 and 2, they almost won as well.
Here's the thing.
With them not shooting well. One last thing. The Knicks shot horrible from 3 in Game 3 as well.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing with the Celtics. This is who they are because it's been working. It worked all of last year. They were clearly the best team in the NBA, and they proved that in the playoffs by winning the title and in a dominant fashion. This year, they're the 2nd best team in the East, still one of the most dominant teams in the NBA, and obviously, if it wasn't for the Cavs' amazing surge, the Celtics will be first place in the East right now in dominant fashion again. But obviously, they're still sitting the 2nd seed, still dominated the first round against the Orlando Magic. I hate saying that, but they did. But overall, when you're looking at it, this is who the Celtics are because, 1, it works. We can't criticize it because it's been working. The games they lose, obviously, that's when we're going to jump on them. But here's the thing. They don't need to change anything. There's no game plan adjustments because 1, they can defend to save their lives, essentially. And that's what they kind of have done. They held the Knicks less than 100 points the last 2 games. right? The first game was obviously
It went to overtime.
overtime, but if it was ended in regular time, it would have been less than 100 points once again.
Because Brunson could have hit that shot.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing with the Boston Celtics is not because of their game plan or the X's and O's they lose, is because they just find ways to beat themselves. And games 1 and 2, they beat themselves. My criticism for the Celtics isn't what type of brand they play in basketball, is what is kind of more of the tendencies, right? Getting complacent, which was what one of the big complaints we had all of last postseason, essentially up until the finals, and execution. And right now, in games 1 and 2, they didn't execute in the fourth quarter because in games 1 and 2 they had at least 5-minute dry spells of where they couldn't get a bucket, right? And the issue is obviously that's where their brand comes in, because they're obviously chucking up threes and are not attacking enough. But the thing is, I can't criticize and say the Celtics need to change because it has worked for them so well these last couple of years.
I mean, you could criticize their identity. You can. It's not. I'm not saying you should criticize what they're doing. Like, you should the brand they play. You can criticize it because we saw what happened in game 1 and 2. Can it be sustainable on a consistent basis through a championship? It did last year. I'm not denying that. They still need to find out if that three ball's not falling. They still need to find a way to win the game without in another way possible, which is get the traditional three ball and ones. Simple as that, right? That's the thing I'm criticizing. I'm not criticizing, oh, that's the game plan. Yes, and stick to what they know. Richard Jefferson said it on the broadcast today. Stick to what they know. That's what they did. And this time they hit 20 shots from three, last 10 more than they did from last game, right? Like, the fact that they almost won the first two games, even with shooting horrible from three, with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown shooting horrible in game 2, which is a whole different argument of the case for that team. Overall, though, like, at the end of the day, they're going to stay who they are. We could criticize the style they play, which is fair. And I know you're like, okay, it is what it is.
But it works.
It works.
Here's the thing. Games 1 and 2, they should have won because at the end of the day, they shot somewhat decent throughout the first 3 quarters. It wasn't, the heat, obviously how they heated up in game 3.
Yeah.
But they still shot somewhat decent, and obviously they defended like really well in the first 3 quarters. The thing with this is here another team that I'm gonna bring up, past example quickly. Houston Rockets, another James Harden-led Houston Rockets, live by the 3, die by 3. Obviously, everyone remembers the famous 27 straight missed threes in that game 7. They didn't have the defense to back it up. This team does, all right? That's one reason why games 1 and 2, they were in the lead, because at the end of the day, if they can't score, they will make sure the Knicks can't score either. And that's what they did. And they shot well enough to have a double-digit lead. The only issue with them was what my issue is, they got complacent. That's the only thing, because they didn't defend well in that fourth quarter in both those games, and obviously they weren't hitting their shots. And at the end of the day, that's what makes this team clicks, and that's why they dominate teams, is because they hit their shots and they play defense. And if the games that they do win or that are tight, it's either one of those things are working, which is their defense, or their 3-ball. And in games 1 and 2, the fourth quarter, none of them worked, which allowed the Knicks comeback to happen with Jalen Brunson and obviously Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, and Mikal Bridges, icing the game with those 2 amazing defensive plays.
Yeah, the last thing I want to say about the Celtics is this is essentially kind of like their last dance, the way Shams has reported that this team might have to break up. It might not be Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but it might be the role players, for example, that need to go because of the contracts they got, the cap rules, and all that stuff, right? So obviously they're trying to make it count as well. Yeah, at the end of the day, a very quick question, because I know I'm going to ask you this at the end when we quickly talk about the Knicks next. Do you see this brand still working them to win the series, though, overall?
Yes.
Okay.
Because look, at their worst, they should still be up 3-0. The Boston Celtics our only reason they were down 2-0 because they hurt themselves. It's not what the Knicks did, it's what the Boston Celtics did. That's why they were down 2-0. I give credit to the Knicks for hanging in there and obviously
making defensive stops.
At the end of it, they are a great defensive team. They have their closer in Brunson. They have a great squad. The thing is, the Boston Celtics are just better. As simple as that. It's not they weren't down. I'm gonna say this one last time. They weren't down 2-0 of what the New York Knicks did. They were down 2-0 because they lifted their foot off the gas. Simple as that. There's no explanation.
Yeah.
Today they put pedal to the metal for all 48 minutes, and look what happened. They destroyed them by 30 points.
Yeah, no. All I gotta say with the Celtics is, listen, don't get don't get stuck on the 3-ball game, even if it's not falling. Try to find a different way, and we'll see what happens. But talking about the Knicks here, I'll say this much. I will be disappointed if they lose the series. I'm not, like, this is not me trying to say I'm going to switch up. The reason why I'm going to say I'm going to be disappointed they lose the series, you work your ass off on the road to get those 2 wins in Boston. You come home and you do this. 5 for 35 from 3. Jalen Brunson played fine. Cat was all right. I need Cat to step up. Like how I say about Jamal Murray, I need him to level up a little bit more in this series. It's tough. Al Horford's been playing amazing defense on them, right? But the thing is, the reason why I'll be disappointed, you were up 2-0. You could have put a stranglehold on, make it 3-0. Guess what? They need to win. Celtics need to win 2 games to get home court again and back. So you have a chance of game 4 to make this a 3-1 series lead. And the reason why I will be disappointed they lose this is you have the defensive players to make it tough and on the Celtics to not hit the threes. We saw that in game 1 and 2 to a certain degree, whether it be good defense, whether it be Celtics missed shot. It's a mix of both. I get that. But we saw when it mattered most, Mikal Bridges did what he did to close that out. We saw Jalen Brunson offensively do what he needed to do to close the game out and make those comebacks. So in my opinion, I will be extremely disappointed if the Knicks do lose this series because, listen, credit to the Celtics if they do pull this off. But if the Knicks, I'm going to look at the Knicks and be like, damn, you guys, no one believed in you, realistically. Right, regular season wise, you could not beat these good teams for pretty much the whole year. Now that you did come back the first 2 games, people were counting you out in the halftime essentially, and you let the Celtics tie this up, and you go back to Boston, and now you go down 3-2. I will be personally extremely disappointed, because they have the defensive ability to slow them down. I like the fact that OG, like you said, your analysis, for the Knicks when we did the preview was who's going to step up outside of Jalen Brunson. And we've got those step-ups from OG Anunoby in game 1. Horrible game 3 by him. Karl Anthony Towns, to me, should be a little bit more aggressive in my opinion. Josh Hart, though, came back in game 2 to help Jalen Brunson to a certain degree. It wasn't even like Jalen Brunson had the greatest game in game 2. It was him down the stretch, right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this, and listen, they have a defensive identity. The scores were what? 108, 105, that game went to overtime, and 91-90. I'm not going to talk about much, but I'm talking about their wins specifically. So they have, like how you said about the Magic, that will make the Celtics go 7 against them. This Knicks team has the ability to do that in general. And now the fact that you were up 2-0 and now 2-1, you need to get that game 4, in my opinion. Otherwise, for them to at least win the series. All right? If they make it 2-2, I think it's over.
You think it's over? Here's the thing. I still have full faith in the Celtics winning the series. I personally am, on that wagon of they're going to reverse sweep and end it in 6 right now. Because at the end of the day, like, the game plan is simple. It's like, hit your shots and play good defense. And the moment you don't do both of those, you're going to lose. But if you are able to do one of those, they'll still win. Because here's the thing. If it's a blowout game, we know it's going to go in the Celtics' favor at the end of the day because the way they heat up. If it's a tight game, that's the only way the Knicks could win because obviously because they have the clutch player of the year and they've gone down the stretch so many times. They did it they did it every single game in round 1 against the Detroit Pistons, winning down the stretch and winning in the 4th quarter. So the Celtics, essentially for me, if I'm just going to wrap up the series and give one last, piece of, I guess, my take on, is the Celtics need to essentially end this game in 3 quarters. And the Knicks just need to hang on up until the 4th quarter to see what can happen. And because at the end of the day, anything can happen in the last 12 minutes of a basketball game, the Celtics just need to finish this game in 3 quarters. And they did that in game 3. And obviously, the first 6 minutes of the 4th quarter, the first half of the 4th quarter, is how these games will be determined. Because if the Celtics are coming into the 4th quarter with a 10-point lead and don't play well the first 5 to 6 minutes of the 4th quarter, the Knicks will win basketball games. If the Celtics do play as even or match the Knicks or obviously better, the Knicks have no chance. And that's what they did in game 3. They just played the whole entire game and didn't get complacent.
The Knicks, for me, need to play on the front foot a little bit next game. Right? They can't be playing from behind every single game and expect.
Yeah, obviously.
Right?
You can't.
You got away with game 1. You got away with game 2. It did not happen in game 3 and you were home court. Right? So we'll see overall how this ends up going. You already said you're still picking the Celtics in 6. I'm a little concerned. I'm gonna keep my Celtics in 6 prediction as well. Because I didn't like I said, it's weird because I do want to pick the Knicks, but again, what I saw from game 3, makes me still want to keep the Celtics winning this, as much as I hate to say it.
That is it for our Celtics and Knicks series so far. But if you guys want a full round one take of the NBA playoffs, click this video that's popping up to my right. This is where we graded every single NBA playoff team after round one. So we'll catch you guys over there, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.